For decades, the most serious Mac users, the ones with really heavy workloads, have opted for the Power Mac that came in a traditional tower form factor starting in 1994. If you're my age, you grew up in the G3, G4, G5 era. And with the switch to Intel, Apple kept the G5's iconic cheese grater design, but inside was a brand new computer. The Xeon ran a whole lot cooler than the G5, so it could get rid of things like the liquid cooling and put in things like a second optical drive and more storage. This cheese grater Mac Pro was awesome. They sold it for about 6 years and it was really successful. But later on in its life, people began to worry. Updates became less and less frequent, and some were concerned that Apple was going to abandon the Pro market. Yes, that's an argument we've had before, because time as a Mac user is a flat circle. Apple addressed this in 2013 at WWDC when Phil Schiller gave a sneak peek of the new Mac Pro.
Can't innovate anymore, my ass.
This new Mac Pro was a radically different machine. It was much, much smaller than the outgoing model. Apple achieved this by basically getting rid of almost everything that made the Mac Pro the Mac Pro. Now, it was faster, and we'll get to that, but the expansion slots that so many people depended on were gone. You couldn't upgrade the inside of this machine yourself. That was a core tenet for the Power Mac and the Mac Pro before this, and Apple just walked away from it. To counter that, they talked about the amazing bandwidth of Thunderbolt 2. I think Apple's idea was that you could go out to the third-party vendors and get cases and enclosures to put in your PCI card. So if you needed an external GPU or some sort of video or audio capture card, you could do it outboard. That never really took off, and a lot of pros I know just kept their cheese graters. They were still really good computers, so why upgrade to one that doesn't meet their needs? Now, there is one cool thing about the ports. While people complained about Thunderbolt, the ports did light up when you turned the computer around to plug things in. That's an awesome feature, and every single computer should have it. Silicon Valley, make it happen. I want my ports to light up. Now, for those who did upgrade, they were rewarded with a much, much faster computer under certain circumstances. So everyday things were quicker because the spinning hard drives got replaced by solid-state storage, and the Xeon processors were faster than ever. But the big story here is with the GPUs. Every single 2013 Mac Pro came with 2 workstation-grade GPUs built by AMD. Apple's bet here was that more computational tasks over time were going to be handed off to the GPU, so the CPU could handle things it was good at. Apple's technology underlying all this was called OpenCL, and it never really took off. Now, if you did embrace it, or the tools that you had took advantage of it, this new Mac Pro was shockingly faster than the old one, but it had lost what made it the general workhorse it had been before. Now, this was before any of the problems started showing up. Some users began to complain of problems, including distorted video, lockups, and even complete system shutdowns. Apple would eventually open a repair extension program to replace the GPUs in some models, but it did a lot of damage to the Mac Pro's reputation. And then there was the fact that Apple never updated the computer. It was on sale for years without any sort of spec bump. Eventually, Apple would remove the 4-core base model machine from sale, bringing the more expensive models down in price, but the internals were the same from the day it launched at the end of 2013. In the spring of 2017, Apple finally addressed this, bringing a handful of journalists out to their campus to talk about the future of the Pro Mac market. They unveiled that they were going to be working on a new iMac, an iMac for professionals, the iMac Pro. I've got one on my desk, and it's spectacular. Apple also talked about a new Mac Pro that was under development, a modular system with a matching external display that would be designed from the ground up to meet the needs of more customers. Also in this meeting, we learned more about why the 2013 Mac Pro, nicknamed the trash can by this point, why it had failed. Here's a quote from Apple software boss Craig Federighi. I think we designed ourselves into a bit of a thermal corner. We designed a system with the kind of GPUs that at the time we thought we needed and that we thought we could serve with a 2 GPU architecture. Being able to put a larger single GPU required a different system architecture and more thermal capacity than the system was designed to accommodate, so it became fairly difficult to adjust. To understand what Federighi is talking about, we need to open up the 2013 Mac Pro. Under its dark aluminum skin is what Apple calls the Unified Thermal Core. This is effectively a triangle. Two sides are taken up by the 2 GPUs. The third side is the CPU. Heat is dissipated towards the center and out the top through one large rotating fan. This all meant that the Mac Pro was really quiet, but you can see why Apple was stuck. They weren't going to be able to put one big GPU in there like people wanted. Effectively, it was a dead-end design. Of course, now we know what the new Mac Pro is like, and it returns to form complete with the cheese grater design. Apple's building a system now that is customizable, upgradable, and will meet the needs of more users than ever. Yes, it's expensive. Yes, most people don't need it. But for those who do, Apple's finally building a computer that will meet their needs and should give them years of faithful service. That's what a Mac Pro should do, and I'm glad Apple has finally relearned that lesson. Thanks for checking out the video. If you have comments, leave them down below. Be sure to subscribe for future videos, and I'll see you soon. Adios.